When it comes to running a 1619 or an 1821 wheel set on your small sized electric dirt bike, you may need to dish your rear wheel to get the best possible tire fitment in there. Some tires may fit better than others, like the Tusk T35, but then there's other tires like the Dunlop MX34 that even though it's the same size tire, it has a little bit higher tread profile that doesn't fit quite as good. However, you can get that tire to fit if you just dish your wheel over. So in today's video, we're going to take you through how to do that. Now luckily, in order to dish a wheel, you don't need very many tools. This is Warp 9's adjustable torque spoke wrench. This is a lot fancier than what you ultimately need in order to get this job done. The most important part is just having a spoke wrench in general and making sure that you've got the right head that fits your spoke nipple. This kit specifically comes with multiple different sizes depending on what nipple you may have, as well as the actual torque wrench and a spoke wrench. Now once again, all that you really need is just a spoke wrench with the correct size head, and we can show you how to get this done. As you can see here, this chain does not have much of any clearance on the side of this tire. In fact, it's been rubbing a little bit over time. This tire is even worn down, so you can imagine if you put a fresh tire on this bike, there wouldn't be much of any clearance and you'd get a lot of chain rub. So what we need to do is push the entire wheel that way a couple of millimeters, get it to clear, and then at that point we'll be good to go. Alright, so if you look at how a wheel works, all of the spokes on this side are designed to pull the wheel this direction. So every single spoke that is facing towards the right side of the hub, if you were to tighten one of those spokes, the rim would want to pull towards the chain. So what we're actually going to want to do is loosen this side and tighten the other side in order to be able to pull the wheel the opposite direction. So once again, every single spoke that is facing towards the sprocket or on this right side of the wheel, those are going to be the ones that I'm going to loosen right now. So I'll loosen the ones pointing this direction. I will not loosen the ones pointing that direction. This is a Warp 9 wheel. The Warp 9 wheel uses a 6.8 millimeter tip for the nipple. So you're going to go ahead and put it onto one of your nipples and turn it clockwise. I'm going to do it about 3/4 turns. And then I'm going to do that to every single one of the nipples facing to the right. It's important to start at your valve stem. That way you kind of have a good marker of where you're at. So I started here, I went to the next one that is facing to the right, loosen that, and I'm going to do that for the rest of them. Alright, so I finished up at the valve stem now, which means the entire right side of the wheel is loose, so it's ready to be pulled over to the next side. Now, when I'm turning these spokes, as I'm doing those quarter turns, I'm kind of feeling the tension that's on them. The last turn that you can do, you can definitely tell if the spoke feels the same as the previous one that you did. So try to make sure that they kind of feel the same way all the way through, so it helps to keep it true during this process. But if you nail doing 1/4 inch turns, then the wheel should not come untrue. So now we're going to move over to the other side, and instead of loosening it, we're going to go ahead and tighten. So now that we're on the other side, like I said, instead of loosening this one, we're going to go ahead and tighten it. Tightening this side of the wheel is going to pull it over. So go ahead and tighten it the same amount of turns you did on the other side. For me, it was 3/4 turns, so I'm going to do that for each spoke facing this direction. Alright, so now that I've gotten through tightening this side, I'm going to go ahead and check how much room I've got in between the tire and the chain. So yeah, now it looks like I've got a really good amount of space in between the wheel and the tire. It's got a couple millimeters of clearance, so I do not need to dish this wheel any further. So at this point I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that all my spokes are at the correct tension. So now that I got the wheel pulled over to a good spot, I want to make sure that all of the spokes are torqued to the right tension. This is where the torque wrench comes in handy. Now you don't have to do this. The wheel is actually really true right now, and I could tell just by feeling it as I was tightening them that the spokes ended up in a really good place. But you know, it's always good to verify that you did things completely right, and utilizing a torque wrench is going to do that. Now on these Warp 9 wheels specifically, you want to do 35 inch-pounds. That's the correct torque for each one of these spokes. And what I'm going to do is start right after the valve stem, and then I'm actually going to skip 3 and land back on the 4th. Now you'll know that you're landing on the correct one because it'll be facing the exact same direction as the one that you tensioned just before. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this one is tensioned to 35, which it is. Then I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3 and land on the 4th. Do the same thing here. And that one's tensioned right. 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You keep on doing that all the way around the wheel, and then you'll land back on the one you started. So now that I landed back on that one, I'm going to move on to the next and do the same thing. Get that one torqued, 1, 2, 3, land on the next. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you'll land back on the same one that you started after that valve stem. So now I'm just going to move on to the next and do it again. And this is the last time that you should have to do it. So now you're going to be 4 spokes away from the valve stem. Start on that one and go ahead and repeat the process. And there it is. That is how you dish a wheel over on an electric motorcycle. And in the beginning, I said you don't need a torque wrench to do this. It's not required. However, it is really nice because when I did resettle all of my spokes at the end there, having that torque wrench really made it easy to know that I had the right tension on every single spoke. So having one of these works really well, but once again, if you just have a regular torque wrench or even just a wrench that fits in general, you can get this done and you can dish your wheel over. It's really not a very hard process. You just have to know the steps to do it. Hopefully this helped you guys. If you got any questions, please comment them below. We'll get them answered.